Hey guys, welcome back to my channel and welcome to the final video in my success series. So today we're going to be building on the last two videos and talking about eliminating the word should from your ballet journey, and if you want, from your life. So what do I mean by this? Because that sounds like, why would I just take out a word in my vocabulary? It's more about the concept of the word. Of course, if you need to use the word should, then you can use it. But what I really mean by this is the difference between, I'm going to use an example because it's just easier to illustrate. The difference between saying, I should be better at pirouettes, and saying, I want to be better at pirouettes. Because that might sound like, well, it's basically the same, you're just going to work on your pirouettes, but it's actually quite a big difference, psychological wise, and also the feeling of success wise. Here's why. If you say to yourself, I should be better at pirouettes, there's already a part of that that's like putting yourself down. Do you see what I mean? Saying that you should be, because at what point did you say, on this day at this time I have to do a single perfect clean pirouette? When was the moment that you decided that? And if it wasn't you, then even worse, who was the person telling you that you had to do that, that's not even in your body or knowing what's going on? So that's exactly why should is actually not helpful in that situation. Whereas if you change it to saying, I want to be good at pirouettes, or I want to be able to do this pirouette, then fine, great, let's work towards that. But there's no part of that sentence saying, I want to do something, that's making yourself feel bad about not being able to do it yet. And in the end, although it's really sad, but quite a lot of like negative kind of psychological tactics have been used in a lot of like high performance things, ballet being included, and it's so good that this is changing now. But please let me know in the comments actually, because maybe I'm completely out of touch, and actually in all of the adult ballet world this has completely been eliminated now, but I don't think it has been. Just this thing of like, by beating yourself up about something, you think you're gonna make yourself get better at it through like negativity, and thinking that doing something out of positivity is not going to have as good results. By the way, that's not to say that you don't achieve a lot through negativity. You can achieve a lot on the outside, but it's not going to feel good while you're doing it. So that's why there's always kind of like two ways of doing things, and actually I'm going to make a separate video about this, specifically talking about teaching ballet. But I think you can go around things like saying, I should be better, I should be doing this, and like come from a place of like, and like kind of approach your classes with that kind of energy. It's still a high energy, so you'll still be able to get something out of it because it's still a high energy. Or you could approach it in a way of saying, I'm excited to work on this today, I'm looking forward to this, I'm going to try my best, and coming with that high energy. And both ways, you're probably going to work on what you want to work on, but in this energy, you're going to enjoy it way, way more. So I know that from experience, and hopefully lots of you can relate to what I'm saying here, and like you've realized that you've lived both of these at some point, and you know that actually this one is much more enjoyable. And I mean, to be honest, I used to think, meh, but they get the same results, so who cares? But actually what happens is that even though short term they can get the same results, in the long term, you approaching things from a positive mindset is gonna create the longevity. Like, you're not gonna get to a point where you're just like, I'm done with ballet, or I'm done with pirouettes, or I'm just done with this because like I just keep, you know, beating myself down, and like I make improvements but it's still not good enough, and I hate myself for this, and all those things. So in the end, you can make short-term gains of both, but the positive is gonna really help to sustain it, and it's more fun, as we said before. Sorry, I'm looking at my notes because I wrote like a little system. I've taken this from obviously the book, as I said at the beginning of this series. And again, I don't know exactly what's happening with the book, but I wanted to bring you guys some of the value from it now as soon as possible. So I wanted to share this little framework. This is not original, by the way. I don't know if anyone's written it exactly how I've written it, but it's something that's very kind of in general talked about in the self-development world. I couldn't find like one person who said it the very first time. I'd probably have to go back into like psychological academia for that, but it's just kind of a general well-known thing about should and shouldn't. Shouldn't, by the way, is the same as should. It's just the negative version of that. So you can either say I should be better at pirouettes, or you can say I shouldn't fall out of pirouettes. It's got the same kind of like downbeating on yourself feel to it. So this is a framework that I use for myself, and I wrote it down because I think it's helpful, or hopefully it will be helpful for other people. So this is what I do now, because I used to get frustrated, I used to get upset with myself, I used to sometimes get angry, and I've lived from that place. And I think when I finished the conservatoire, I just gave myself permission to let go of all of that and to take my journey into my own hands in a way that I was going to enjoy and that was going to be sustainable for the long term. So this is what I did. It's a 3-step process for eliminating should. So should we take a different example than pirouettes? Because I feel like I've talked about pirouettes in every single video. Let's talk about petit allegro, another one of my weaknesses. Let's just say I can't get my brises clean, which quite often I can't. So I can either say to myself, my brises should be better by now, I've done this so many times, why is it not good enough yet? And approach it from that kind of energy, or I can go through this process. Number 1, what is right now and what can be in the future. So this is partly about acceptance, and I could do a whole video on acceptance, but people get confused between acceptance and then just sit there, and acceptance and then progress. So I'm talking about the second type of acceptance, which is really what acceptance is. It's just being honest about what there is in this moment right now. And this can apply to anything in life, by the way, not just ballet, but just instead of resisting what is and coming from that negative energy, just be like, okay, right now in my journey, my brises are messy. It is what it is. There's no point in getting upset about it. There's no point in getting annoyed about it, because most likely if I'm annoyed or upset, I'm not going to dance my best when we come to do this exercise now. So that's the acceptance part. This is what it is. Then what can be. Okay, it doesn't mean that I just accept my brises how they are and I never try to improve them. I accept where they are now, and then by accepting, I can really look at the reality of what it is. So I don't try and fool myself that they're better than they are. I also don't fool myself that they're worse than they are. I just accept what it is. I look hard in the mirror and I say, what's actually going on with my brises? Where are the parts where I'm not doing as well as I could? And that's actually part 2 of this 3-part process. So just to recap, part 1, accept what is and define what can be in the future. So like I said, my brises are right now a bit messy. What can be in the future? They can be cleaner. Step 2, define what works and what doesn't work. So through the different lessons that I've done, what were the exercises or the tips or the corrections that I've had from teachers, which actually I remember them working for me. I feel like pirouettes is a better example for this, because I feel like there's like endless tips and things for pirouettes and things that work and things that you can think about that work and that don't work. But anyway, let's stick with brises. So what is it about thinking about my inner thighs as I jump, or what is the actual process that I can go through, or what are the tips that I've heard before that I know work, and what are the things that don't work, i.e. maybe the thing that doesn't work for me is trying to think too much about traveling, and actually what I need to think more about is beating, you know? So actually go through all of the information that you already have stored and try and use what that information is. And obviously if you're in class and you want to ask a question, even better, then you can really ask, what works here? And finally, once you've defined what works and what doesn't work, then you can get really clear on how you're going to move to your what can be in the future. So basically you're going to say, these are the things that I'm going to apply, these are the corrections that I'm going to apply, or these are the things that I'm going to think about. This is how often I'm going to practice this exercise. This is my commitment to how many ballet classes I'm doing a week, or whatever it is, and I commit to practicing at home, or whatever it is. Then you just look at, okay, what are the steps that are going to get me there? So I feel like this 3-step process can work for lots of different things, but let's just go over it once more. So first of all, you accept what is. Don't judge it, just be like, right, this is as it is. Now, what can be in the future? What am I actually aiming to do, or am I aiming to get? Step 2, what works and what doesn't work. from my past knowledge and experience, what are the things I can draw upon that are going to help me to get to where I can be. And then step 3, really in a very practical way, what are the actual steps? Not just the thought process, not just the tips and the corrections and things, but what are the actual steps that I can take to get me closer to where I can be in the future. And just to finish, I want to come back and take all of this back to success, because that is what this whole series has been about. And when you have defined the small steps that you can take to get to where you can be, success and feeling successful is acknowledging every single one of those steps along the way. Even when it feels like a step back, if you've done the step that you set out to do, i.e. go to your ballet class and come with full energy and warm up and whatever, even if it didn't go as you wanted, acknowledge that you took the step that you had already said was going to be towards the success. Life is not linear, unfortunately. Wouldn't it be very easy if we could just go like A, B, C, D, and I get to E for sure? It doesn't work like that in life. So I think part of feeling successful is acknowledging the ups and downs, the ebbs and flows, and I'm sure that all of us who dance ballet know this already, because it's just impossible to have a straight, fluid, upwards progression in ballet. There are always going to be certain setbacks. At times you have to take breaks, whether through injury, as you know, I just recently broke my little toe, or through just choosing to have a little break and come back refreshed. And there'll be some things that you'll have to take a little step back and just acknowledge, again, without judgment, where am I? Okay, my splits aren't as close as they used to be, or I'm not quite down in my splits where I used to be able to do it. Okay, no judgment, no being like, I should be able to do my splits. If you just come back from holiday and you can't, no judgment. This is where I am. I know I can get back to the splits. What are the steps? What are the things I did before that worked? And what are the steps now that I'm going to say I'm going to do X, Y, and Z to get me there? And if it doesn't go in a straight line towards splits and like one day I'm worse, that's okay. Just get back onto the steps and continue the progress. So really what this whole series, if you really boil it down, on success has been about, has been focusing on progress and not results. And I'm sure you've heard that and you've seen memes about it and inspirational quotes and all of that, but this is a little bit more of a breakdown and an in-depth look at what it actually means to say progress over perfection or process over results or whatever it is. There are so many different ways of saying it, but that's the truth. The truth is that that is where we should put our focus, because in the end, if you're focused on the process and you're celebrating the process as you do it, you're gonna get to the results. As long as you put yourself on the right trajectory, as long as you've thought about it first and you're not just blindly following like random, I don't know, whatever, like videos from someone who hasn't done what you want to do or something like that. As long as you're being sensible about the process, then you will get to the results eventually. And this keeps you motivated, it helps you with the longevity of the process, and it makes you just enjoy it more. So that's enough talking from me. I hope that this video has been helpful, has been interesting. As always, please leave me any comments or questions you have in the comments below, and I will do my best to get back to you. Thank you so much for watching, guys. I really hope you've enjoyed this success series. It's definitely time for me to go because, as you can see, the light's gone and I've just got one light on over there. So I will see you in my next video. Thanks for watching. Bye.